Okay, we're at Gamex here to talk about The Division with Martin, who's IP developer. I think it's kind of cool that you think of it as an IP before even the first game is out the door. But perhaps that's the best time to sort of really mold an IP before the first game is out.
Yeah, you have to have ambitions, right? You have to start somewhere, and we hope that this will be a long-lasting game. So you have to build it from the ground up as a long-lasting game.
So how did this IP come to be? Like, what's the origin of it?
Well, several years ago, actually, Ubisoft approached us and said they wanted to do a Clancy RPG, and they wondered if we would be interested in exploring that avenue. And we thought it was a very interesting concept. So a couple of our guys started looking into it, and they came up with various concepts, lots of ideas, and that ended up becoming The Division.
I guess like, because the Clancy IP is very sort of diverse. You can do a lot of stuff with sort of the near future military setting, and there has been a lot of different attempts. There's been strategy, airplane shooters, and of course Splinter Cell and Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six. Do you feel like you need to sort of borrow from those when you create The Division, or do you want it to sort of have a flavor of its own in terms of how the game plays?
Well, it definitely needs to have a flavor of its own. It can't be confused with any of the other IPs. But at the same time, we have to stay true to Clancy, and we have to be smart enough to realize what the other games did good, and what we can take from that, both in terms of learning how to do our game and also in how to portray Clancy as an IP.
It's not like a Ghost Recon in an MMO suit, right?
No, definitely not. No. It's absolutely not like that. That was one of the mandates. It could not be Ghost. It could not be Rainbow. We had to find our own niche, and that's why it was a difficult exploration, because finding that thing that other Clancy games did not cover was the difficult part. And we found it once we realized that what was really interesting to us was if everybody else had failed, and this whatever threat it was had been realized, and someone had to clean that up. And what if you were that someone? And that's where we started finding The Division.
So, what's interesting with games is that once you announce them and you show them to the public, they sort of start to take a life of their own, and there's a lot of feedback and there's a lot of opinions and things going on. And I guess that's sort of what tugs and pulls with you in your job, the direction you want to take the IP, but also you have to listen to the reactions and what people expect, and now you're creating it with the audience as well, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting part and the benefit of developing an IP as you're announcing it, because you get all these ideas, and you can see the trends, you can see what people are triggered by, and what are they really interested in, and you can try to capitalize on that and focus more on that. And it's pretty cool to see all the feedback, actually. And the cool thing is that the things that people really love are the things that we thought would be very awesome to make a game about. So we're pretty well set up in that way.
So of course the game is being shown here. It's the same demo as at Gamescom, I believe, or?
Correct, yes, same as Gamescom.
But it's got to be a little bit nice to sort of show it to the home audience, to the Swedes. You've been working this in the dark for so long, and what's the feedback been like here? I'm sure you've talked to a lot of people who've been to see the demo.
Well, you know, it's funny because this is the first time I'm at Gamex myself, and the Swedish audience is not the same audience you get at E3 or Gamescom. Swedes are a bit more calm and collected, and we are a bit more organized in a way, and it's not the same madness that we're used to seeing, but it's quite nice as well. It's a different type of show, for sure. But people seem to be enjoying it. We're getting the same basic feedback that we've been getting from Gamescom and E3, which is that it's awesome and people want to play it, and that's pretty cool.
So I gotta ask this because recently, of course, Tom Clancy passed away, and you know, I don't know how much hands-on he had with the Division specifically, but could you tell us a little bit about his role and what happened in the studio when the news came out?
Yeah, on a development level, we never had any interaction with Mr. Clancy ourselves. So for us, it was sad because a lot of us read his books, we've seen the movies, obviously we play the games, we enjoy Clancy, and it's a sad thing that he is gone. But it had no direct impact on the production as such. As to how his relationship has been otherwise with other projects, I can't really, you know, I don't know about that. I know Ubisoft has the rights to the games, and I'm sure they've been in contact with him continuously in some way, but on the production floor, he was never that involved.
It feels like Tom Clancy, in a way, many years ago became bigger than just a man. It was an organization around all these books and all of these properties and the games and so on and so forth. Of course, he was a big, for a sort of a foreign part in the game industry, he was very hands-on because he started Red Storm and all of that back in the day. But perhaps things were in place that it wasn't really impactful on your day-to-day work.
No, I think you're exactly right. I think that's exactly what it was. I mean, Clancy moved on from being just a man to becoming a full-size brand, a brand house even, where he had the books, there were the movies, there were the games, and he kind of wrote, his books became like a manual or a guideline to how the other things were supposed to be, so he didn't have to be that hands-on because there were these rules that we respected and had to follow. So I think his legacy will always live on. Maybe sounds corny, but I mean, Clancy is by definition still Clancy, even if Tom Clancy is no longer with us.
It's a nice thought. How's things progressing in the studio now? You've shown the game, you've sort of got into the full production, because it almost felt like the announcement was also the sort of the start for actual, like, now we're really going to dig into the production. Yeah, that's kind of true. I mean, obviously we were deep in production before E3, but once we saw the reception we got, then it was clear that it was a project well worth investing in. So yeah, it kicked up a notch after E3. We can say that much. So it's pretty hectic right now. It's all out, balls crazy production. And sometime next year is what you're aiming for?
You're not gonna get a date from me. You're gonna have to fish somewhere else. Sorry.
I can just throw out dates like randomly here.
Yeah, well, I could do that, or I could just do the standard safe thing and say we'll release it when it's done.
I think that's a good thing as well. I think everybody wants it to be released when it's done.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, every gamer by now has learned that it's very hard to set a date early on and stick by it. We want to do an awesome game. If that means we can't talk about the release date right now, then so be it.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you. Have a good one.